Well, good afternoon. Gemar Chatima Tova. It is wonderful to be here in the afternoon. Yom Kippur Mincha service, the afternoon service, are when most people use the opportunity to take a break. And I get it, because this holiday is a marathon. It is not a sprint. But here at Beth Yeshurun, our teens are so dedicated that they take on the Yom Kippur Mincha service themselves. From leading the prayers to speaking about their experiences, they make being at Yom Kippur Mincha, whether virtually or in person, a joy. So we will begin with our first speaker, Elon Grossman, who will talk about his experience in Kehila High.
Good afternoon and good Yom Tov. I have grown up a third-generation member of Beth Yeshurun on both my mother's and my father's side of the family. I became a bar mitzvah here on this bima only 3 short years ago. Growing up, going to a secular elementary, middle, and high school, I've had a different experience than many of my Jewish friends. Although I've enjoyed the schools I've attended, I've had to seek out Jewish education through religious school and now Kehila High. I enjoy going to Kehila High and want to share some of why it has made me so connected to my Judaism today. After hearing Jaden, my older sister, talk about a new program called Kehila High, I was interested in continuing my Jewish education. She would tell me that there were all kinds of classes you could take, and she met people from all over different synagogues. She even had the opportunity to go to the AIPAC Policy Conference in Washington, D.C., which I am also really hoping to attend. This all sounded good to me, so I enrolled upon starting 8th grade. After attending a few times on Wednesday night, I then understood how my sister could believe Hebrew school was this intriguing and entertaining place. Kehila High really is such a warm and welcoming, positive environment where there is something for everyone. Never before had I been given the opportunity to select my own classes based on my interests. Kehila High gave me that opportunity. I couldn't believe I was able to take a class on Israeli cooking with our community shaliach. Over the past 3 years at Kehila High, some of my favorite classes included topics on Israeli culture, what it means to be a conservative Jew, and classes addressing anti-Semitism in America and around the world. Did you know that at Kehila High there are classes about Jewish artists, Jews' role in the media, and different ways you can cook kosher food in college? I'm excited to take classes about Israeli life and culture in hopes to someday see for myself what it's like on the Kehila High Israel trip. And even though COVID-19 postponed the first inaugural Kehila High Israel trip for rising juniors and seniors, hopefully it will continue and happen this summer. Teachers at Kehila High have always come to class prepared with interesting lessons and readings to keep us engaged and attentive. Not only do they tackle important issues of the past, but they also teach topics that are relevant in the present day, which I believe are the most important for teens. Students and teachers have a unique bond, one that I have never experienced at a Hebrew school until now. This bond makes me even more interested in learning about different Jewish topics as well as feeling more connected to my Jewish mentors. Not only do classes capture my utmost interest and attention, but Kehila High trips have also been meaningful experiences. I've been on multiple Kehila High trips, my favorites including the 8th and 9th grade alternative winter break. The students and Danielle Alexander, the director of Kehila High, decided that after Hurricane Harvey, every other year we'd stay in Houston. That trip has been appropriately nicknamed a staycation. When not in Houston, the 8th and 9th graders go to New Orleans. During my sophomore year, we ended up going to New Orleans. There, we visited many historic buildings, toured beautiful synagogues, and ate delicious kosher food. Who knew there was so much to learn about my Jewish history in the South? Between spending time with Jewish kids my age, visiting an American Ninja Warrior gym, and getting breakfast at Starbucks, where we wrapped up the whole experience, Kehila High trips really had it all. Additionally, I have had the opportunity to serve on the Kehila High teen leadership team for 2 years now. Through this experience, I have gained confidence in myself, had the opportunity to meet new people, and develop my leadership skills. I have shared new ideas with the team and always feel that my opinion is valued. The leadership team is a place where I felt comfortable to speak up and help make change to better our program. I encourage all of my friends to be a part of the leadership team, as it really has been a great experience for me. Finally, I believe most importantly that Kehillah has provided me with a safe Jewish place where I can truly be who I am, surrounded by good friends and excellent role models. Participating in Kehillah has made my connection to Judaism stronger, and I am glad that there is a place where we can continue our Jewish learning after our B'nai Mitzvah and come together to make new friends from all over the city. Gemar Hatima Tova.
Yasher Koach Elon, thank you so much for sharing. I personally love every time I get to teach in Kehillah High, whether that's as an elective or teaching the class on conservative Judaism, which I get to do with Rabbi Strauss. It's always a really good time hanging out with our teens and talking. We are now going to begin our Torah service for Mincha. We turn to page 361 in the Machzor. We rise as the ark is opened.
Vayehi bin soa ha'aron, vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai, ve'afutzu oivecha, ve'anusu mesanecha mipanecha, ki metzion tetzei Torah, ki metzion tetzei Torah, udevar Adonai mirushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo, Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo, le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Gadlu l'Adonai iti, uneromema shemo yachdav.
And you may be seated. The Torah reading for Yom Kippur Mincha is very fitting. It is full of some of the most basic rules of civil society, so it's really good for Yom Kippur. It says, don't steal. It says, don't be false. It says, don't insult those who experience the world differently than you do. It says, do not hate. And why does it tell us to do this? The why part is at the end. Haftara kamocha, love your fellow human being as yourself. Because if we walk away from these high holidays with anything other than the message of loving others and acting out of that love, if we do anything else than those things, then we haven't been paying close enough attention to the holiday or to the prayers. The Torah reading for Yom Kippur Mincha you can find on page 365 in your Lev Shalem, Leviticus chapter 19, verse 1.
ותגלה ותראה עלינו זמן קרוב יחון, פליטתנו פליטת עמו בית ישראל לכן, ולחסד ולרחמים ולרצון ונאמר אמן. הכל הבו גודל אלינו תנו כבוד לתורה, יעמדו ראשון, ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל וקדושתו, ואתם הדבקים באדוני אלוהיכם, חיים כולכם היום.
Our first Aliyah will be Melissa and Bradley Kalmans, and our Torah reading will be Matthew Kalmans.
Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torah. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Amen. V'daber Adonai el Moshe lemor, daber el kol adat b'nei Israel, ve'amarta elehem kedoshim to you, ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. ishimo ve'aviv tira'u, ve'et shabtotai tishmaru, ani Adonai Elohechem. Al tifnu el ha'elelim, ve'lohai masecha, lo ta'asu lachem, ani Adonai Elohechem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'hayalam notah b'tocheinu, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yamod Sheni.
For our second Aliyah, we have Ron Brunes, and Matthew will continue his reading on page 365.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Ambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol chamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Veki tisbechu zebach shlomim l'Adonai lirtzonechem tisbechuhu beyom zivchachem yachel el umimacharat behanotar ad yom hashlishi be'esh yesaref be'im ha'achol ye'achel beyom hashlishi Big'ulhu lo yeratzeh ve'ochlav avonav yisa ki et kadosh Adonai chilel v'nechreta hanefesh hahi me'ameha u'kutrechem et ketziratechem lo techale ve'at tzedecha v'iksor Beleket ketzircha lo telaket, vecharmecha lo teolal, uferet karmecha lo telaket, leani belager ta'azov otam, ani Adonai Elohechem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natah b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ya'amdu Shlishi.
For our third Aliyah, we call upon Donna and Kenny Katz. Matthew will continue his reading on page 366 at the top.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Ambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Lo titnovu velo techachashu velo teshakru ish ba'amito velo tishavu vishmi la shaker vechilalta et shem Elohecha ani Adonai lo ta'asok et reacha velo tigzol lo talin peulat sachir itecha ad boker lo tekalel cheresh velifnei iber Lo titain mishol ve'areta Elohecha ani Adonai. Lo ta'usu avel v'mishpat lo tisa p'nei dal ve'lo tehedar p'nei gadol ve'tzed edek tishpot amitecha. Lo telech rachil be'amecha lo ta'amod al dam re'echa ani Adonai Elohechem. Lo tisna et achicha, bilvavecha, hocheach tochiach et amitecha, velo tisa alav chet, lo tikom velo titor et bnei amecha, ve'avta lereacha, kamocha, ani Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. We rise as the Torah is lifted.
Our Hagba is David Stein, and Andrea will be doing the dressing.
Yamdu hamakbia v'hagolelet.
Please rise.
וזאת התורה ששם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה תורה 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 ציווה לנו משה תורה 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 ציווה לנו משה תורה 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 ציווה לנו משה Torah, 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 Torah tziva lanu Moshe.
You may be seated. The Haftara is a reading from the book of the prophets that we always read when we are doing Torah service. We append it on to after we read Torah. So that's what we're going to do now. But Yom Kippur Mincha is special, obviously. You're all here. But there's other reasons. The story is rather special, and it is one that I am positive that you already know. It's the story of Jonah. You know, Jonah, he's a prophet, and God says, go to Nineveh and tell them to change their ways. And they go, and he runs away. There's a boat, and was wrecks, and he jumps overboard. He's swallowed up by a whale, which is actually a really big fish, technically, translates. Whatever, the point is you know the story. You know, we all know the story. But there's more to the Jonah story. I'm not going to say exactly how old I was, but I was significantly old enough that I should have known. That I actually finally read the story of Jonah for the first time. Jonah didn't learn his lesson. Even after he got swallowed by that giant fish, after he prayed in its belly, and after he got out and delivered the message to the people of Nineveh, he still didn't learn his lesson. God had to teach him a lesson. And if you read through the whole story of Jonah, you'll see it happen. The Haftara for Yom Kippur Mincha is in your Machzor, page 367, or the beginning of the book of Jonah.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנביאים טובים ורצה בדבריהם הנאמרים באמת ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בתורה ובמשה עבדו ובישראל עמו ובנביאי האמת והצדק ויהי דבר אדוני אל יונה בן אמיתי לאמור קום לך אל נינווה העיר הגדולה וקרא עליה כי אל תרעתם לפני ויקום יונה לברוח תרשישה מלפני אדוני וירד יפו וימצא אונייה באה תרשיש ויתן שכרה וירד בה לבוא עמהם תרשישה מלפני אדוני ואדוני הטיל רוח גדולה אל הים ויהי סער גדול בים והאונייה חישבה להישבר ויראו המלאכים ויזעקו איש אל אלוהיו ויטילו את הכלים אשר באונייה אל הים להקל מעליהם ביונה ירד על ירכתי הספינה וישכב וירדם ויקרב אליו רב החובל ויאמר לו מלאך נרדם קום קרא אל אלוהיך ואולי יתעשת האלוהים לנו ולא נאבד ויאמרו איש אל רעהו לכו ונפיל הגורלות ונדע בשל מי הרעה הזאת לנו ויפילו גורלות ויפול הגורל על יונה ויאמרו אליו הגידה נא לנו באשר למי הרעה הזאת לנו מה מלאכתך ומאין תבוא מה ארצך ואי מזה עם אתה ויאמר עליהם עברי אנוכי בן אדוני אלוהי השמיים אני הרי אשר עשה את הים ואת היבשה ויראו האנשים יראה גדולה ויאמרו אליו מה זאת עשית כי ידעו האנשים, כי מלפני אדוני הוא בורח, כי הגיד להם.
We now call up Carly Katz to continue the reading of Jonah.
Vayehid bar Adonai el Yonah shenit lemor kum lech el ninbei ha'ir hagdolah ukra eleha et hakriya asher anochi dober elecha vayakom Yonah vayelech el ninbei kid bar Adonai veninbei haita ir gedolah lelohim mahalach shloshet yamim Vayachel Yonah lavo va'ir mahalach yom echad vayikra vayomar od arba'im yom benin bei nepachet vayaminu anshenin bei belohim vayikra utzom vayilbeshu sakim migdolam be'ad ketanam vayiga hadavar el melech ninbei vayakom mikiso vayaver adarto me'alav vayachasak vayeshev al ha'efer vayazek Vayomer benin bei mitam hamelech ugdolav lehemor ha'adam behabhema habakar behatson al yitam me'uma al yiru umayim al yishtu Vayit kesu sakim ha'adam behabhema vayikru el Elohim bechozka Vayashuv ish midarko hara umin hechamas asher bechapehem miodei yashuv benicham ha'elohim bashav mecharon apo velo noveh Vayar ha'elohim et maasehem kishavu midarkam hara Vayinachem ha'elohim al hara asher diber lasot lahem belo asa.
And now we welcome David Katz to continue the reading of Jonah.
Vayera el Yonah ra'a gedolah vayichar lo Vitpalel el Adonai vayomar Ana Adonai haloz edevari Adheoti al admati al kain kidamti libroch tarshisha ki yadati ki ata el chanun verachum erech apayim verav chesed venicham al hara'a ve'ata Adonai kachna et nafshi mimeni ki tov moti mechayai vayomer Adonai hayetev charalach vayetze Yonah min ha'ir vayeshev mikedem la'ir vayas Lo sham suka vayeshev tachtea batzel ad asher yireh ma'yeh ba'ir vayeman Adonai Elohim ki kayon ve'al me'al Yonah liotzel al rosho le'atzi lo mera'ato vayismach Yonah al ki kayon simcha gdolah vayeman Elohim tola'at Valor ashachar lemochorat v'tached hakikayon vayivash vayehi kizroach hashemesh vayeman Elohim ruach kadim charishit v'tach hashemesh al rosh Yonah vayitalaf v'Yisrael et nafsho lamut vayomer tov moti mechayai vayomer Elohim el Yonah hayetev charalach el hakikayon vayomer hayetev charali yad mavet Vayomer Adonai atachasta lakikayon asher lo malta bo velo gidalto shebin laila haya uvin laila avad vani lo achus al ninveh ha'ir agdolah asher yesh ba harbe mishtem esrei ribo adam asher lo yada ben yemino lishmolo uveima rabba
We continue page 371 from Micah verse 18, Mi'el Kamocha. Mi'el Kamocha nose avon gover al pesha li sherit nachalato lo chezik lad apo ki chavetz chesed hu yashuv yirachamenu yichbosh avonotenu vetashlich bimsulot yam kol chatotam תיתן אמת ליעקב, חסד לאברהם, אשר נשבעת על אבותינו מימי קדם. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ונאמנים דבריך, ודבר אחד מדבריך אחור לא ישוב ריקם. כי אל מלך נאמן ורחמן אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הנאמן בכל דבריו. רחם על ציון כי היא בית חיינו, ולעלובת נפש להושיע במהרה בימינו. ברוך אתה אדוני משמח ציון בבניה. שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו באליהו הנביא עבדך, ובמלכות בית דוד בשיחך, במהרה יבוא ויגל ליבנו. על כיסאו לא ישב זר, ולא ינחלו עוד אחרים את כבודו, כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו, שלא יכבה נרו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן דוד.
Amen. Yasher Koach to all of our Torah readers, to all of our Haftara readers. That was wonderful. We will now turn back in our Siddur. You're already in your Siddur. You're turning in your Machzor to page 373, 372. As the Ark is open, the Torah is lifted up to be put back.
Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav Shemo levado.
הודו על ארץ ושמיים, וירם קרן לעמו, תהילה לכל חסידיו, לבני ישראל עם קרובו, הללויה. השיבנו אדוני, אליך ונשובה, חדש חדש ימינו, חדש ימינו כקדם.
And as the ark doors are closed, you may be seated. Our next speaker is Emmy Brunes, who will talk about her time at Beth Yeshurun Day School.
Hi, I'm Emmy Brunes, and I'm an 8th grader at the Emory Wiener School. I went to Beth Yeshurun for preschool and elementary school, and I graduated in 2018. Beth Yeshurun really helped shape my Jewish identity and the person I am today. First of all, we learned Hebrew and Judaics and had both classes every day. Judaics taught me all about Judaism, the Jewish people, our history, and gave me a strong connection to Israel. We also learned about all the Jewish holidays and always did fun activities as they came up during the year. With what I learned in school, I helped my dad lead the Passover Seder every year. Hebrew class taught us the basics of the Hebrew language. I think that is a valuable addition to a Jewish school because the students get to be introduced to a whole different language other than English, and one that is so important to the Jewish people too. I look forward to one day going to Israel and putting my Hebrew skills to good use. Outside of the classroom, we also said Jewish prayers at the beginning of every day and had Shabbat services every Friday. I always enjoyed the Friday services because everyone got to sing along to the prayers and have a great time. Cantor Finkelstein and all of the rabbis also make a huge impact on the services. The cantor plays the music and sings along to the prayers, and one of the rabbis gives a Devar Torah to the kids each time. Through classes, programs, and services, we learned many prayers to get us prepared for our bar and bat mitzvahs. On that note, since my bat mitzvah was Labor Day 2019, this is the second year I have to fast for Yom Kippur. Kids, please enjoy fasting on Yom Kippur while you can. It's rough. Other than the Jewish impact Beth Yeshurun had on me, it also has fantastic academics. The teachers were so amazing, and they always managed to provide you with so much knowledge that would eventually help you in the future. Without the knowledge I gained at BYDS, I would have never gotten into Emory. In addition to academics, there's also PE, recess, music, and art almost every day. I love that BYDS included those extra classes during the day because the kids can take a break from work and play sports, sing songs, play instruments, play on the playground, and even do some fun art activities. I truly received a well-rounded education. Something else that makes BYDS so beneficial for the students is that the classes are really small. This is an amazing aspect of Beth Yeshurun because it makes learning better and easier within the classroom. The teachers know every single kid very well, and in addition, they can have one-on-one time with the students during the class period. This is an advantage for the students because they can get the help they deserve and really get to talk it out with their teacher. Not only did the teachers know me very well while I was attending school there, but they still remembered me now after I've been gone for 3 years, and we always enjoy catching up. Every student holds a special place in each teacher's heart and vice versa, and that is why the staff at BYDS are so unique. Finally, I have made many close friendships from my days at Beth Yeshurun. We learned together, played together, prayed together. Many of my classmates continue to be my best friends today. My dad tells me that some of his closest friends are those he made at Beth Yeshurun. I hope that is true for me. Beth Yeshurun has been home to my family for many generations. My cousins went here, my dad went here, my aunt taught here, and even though my grandma didn't actually go here, she was always the first car in the carpool line every afternoon to pick up my dad. My grandpa was also on the synagogue board, and they contributed a lot to the school back then. I love Beth Yeshurun so much because it is home to many families throughout their generations. Beth Yeshurun is such a special place, and it really feels like a second home. From the Hebrew and Judaics to the academics to the well-rounded education to the small classes and tight-knit community, Beth Yeshurun Day School is such an amazing school, and I really hope you consider sending your kids here because you will not regret it. Thank you, and Gemara Chatima Tova.
Yasher Koach, Emmy, for telling us so many great things about Beth Yeshurun Day School. I always love being able to go there, whether it's, like you said, giving a Devar Torah, which is usually just a story for me, whether it's spending time with my little boy when he gets to be over there. There's just so many great things about our day school. So Yasher Koach to you. We now turn in our Machzor to page 373 for the Chatzi Kaddish before the Amidah, and we rise.
Yikadal ve'yikadash shemei Rabba, Amen. Be'yama divrachi rutei ve'yamlich malchutei B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho be'Yisrael Ba'agala v'zman kariv ve'imeru, Amen. Ba'agala v'zman kariv ve'imeru, Amen. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam u'lo me'omaya Yitbarach Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh ve'yithadar ve'yit'aleh ve'yithalal shemei dekudesha Brichu le'ela le'elam min kol birchata ve'shirata tushbechata ve'nechemata da'amiran ve'alma ve'imeru, Amen. Ve'imeru, Amen. Ve'imeru, Amen. Ve'imeru, Amen. Amen.
We turn to page 374 as we begin the Amidah for Yom Kippur Mincha all together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanura, El Elyon, Gomer חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוהר הצדי אבות ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה.
We turn to page 375.
זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, אתה ביגור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומחיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה.
ונאמנת לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים.
You remain standing, page 376 for the Kedusha.
כתוב על יד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ואמר.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melo kol haaretz kevodo, kevodo, Malei olam, Meshar tov, Shoalim zelazeh, Ayeh, Mekom kevodo, Leumatom, Baruch Yomeru, Baruch Kavod Adonai Mim Komo, Hu Yifen Berachamim, Be'achonam, Ham Yechadim Shemo, ויחונם המייחדים שמו ערב הבוקר בכל יום תמיד פעמיים באהבה שמה אומרים שמה ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד הוא אלוהינו הוא אבינו הוא מלכנו הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו שנית 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 לעיני כל חי להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו מה אדיר שמך בכל הארץ והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ודברי קודשך כתוב לאמור ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור הללויה לדור ודור לדור ודור לדור ודור נגיד God לך לדור ודור לדור ודור לדור ודור נגיד God לך ולנצח נצחים ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד לדור ודור לדור ודור לדור ודור נגיד God לך לדור ודור לדור ודור לדור ודור נגיד God לך כי אל מלך גדול גדול וקדוש אתה כי אל מלך גדול גדול וקדוש אתה.
We turn to page 379 to the middle as the cantor leads us in Adonai Adonai.
Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Vechanun, Erech Havayim, Verav Chesed Ve'emet, Nozer Chesed Alavim, Nosei Avon V'Fesha, V'Chata
As the ark is opened, we turn to page 380 as we are led in Shema Kolenu.
Shema, Shema Kolenu, Adonai Elohim. Kabel berachamim uveratzon et tefilatenu hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva hadesh yameinu hadesh yameinu hadesh yameinu Yameinu kekedem, Kadesh Yameinu,
The ark is closed, and we are seated as we turn to page 381 for Ki Anu Amecha.
Ki anu anu amecha ve'ata ve'ata Eloheinu anu 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 vanecha ve'ata avinu anu anu avadecha ve'ata ve'ata Adonenu anu 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 kehalecha ve'ata helkeinu anu anu nahalatecha ve'ata ve'ata goraleinu anu 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 tzanecha ve'ata ro'einu anu anu charmecha ve'ata ve'ata notreinu anu 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 fulatecha ve'ata yotreinu anu anu rayatecha ve'ata ve'ata dodeinu anu 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 skulatecha ve'ata kroveinu anu anu amecha ve'ata ve'ata malkeinu anu 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 mamirecha ve'ata mamireinu.
We've now come to the vidui section of Mincha. We've done a couple of these already today. We did one last night. These are the confessional prayers. And it's always interesting if you look at the way they're worded. Even in the English, you can see it. It's, we have done this. We have been unkind. We have been wicked. We have gossiped. We. Okay. And we all stand up here, and we, give ourselves a little knock. We say, oh, we did this, we did that. But what if you didn't do it? I don't really want to stand up here and say, oh, yeah, I did something, but I didn't do it. Like, that guy did it, but I didn't do it. But in Judaism, we believe that Kol Yisrael Arim Zelazeh, all of the people of Israel, all of us, are responsible for one another. That's not to say you did it. Like, you're not to blame if someone else messed up. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that when we all stand up and we all confess that we did something bad and we say all the words, it empowers others to say, you know what, yeah, I did it. Because if you were the only one, if you only said something for the stuff you did wrong, you don't want to stand up in a whole room full of people and be like, yeah, I lied. That would be horrible. So we say, oh, we did these things. We all did these things. And it helps everybody else feel more comfortable that, you look around and everyone's doing this. Everybody messed up this year. Nobody's perfect. And it helps us feel better that we are imperfect. And that means everybody can feel better about taking steps to improve. We will start first with the shorter confession, the Ashamnu, as we turn to page 282 and we stand up.
Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu Dofi, He'evinu, Behir Shanu, Zadnu, Chamasnu, Tafalnu Sheker, Yatsnu Ra, Kizavnu, Lotsnu, Maradnu, Niatsnu, Sararnu, Avinu, Pashan.
page 384 for the longer confession, the All Hates.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha v'yetzer hara Al chet shechatanu lefanecha ve'odim u'velo yodim ve'al kulam Elohai selichot zelach lanu mechalanu kaper lanu ve'al kulam Elohai selichot zelach lanu mechalanu zelach lanu mechalanu kaper lanu ותחזינה עינינו, ותחזינה עינינו, בשובך, בשובך, לציון ברחמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, המחזיר שכינתו לציון. מודים אנחנו לך. הטוב כי לא חלו רחמך, והמרחם כי לא תמו חסדיך. מעולם, מעולם, מעולם קיווינו לך, ועל כולם יתברך ויתרומם, ויתברך ויתרומם שמך מלכנו, תמיד, תמיד, תמיד לעולם ועד.
בחתום לחיים טובים כל בני בריתך.
You may be seated. We now invite Nava Smith-Litvak to talk about her not trip to Israel this summer.
Good Yom Tov, everybody. My name is Nava Smith-Litvak, and let me start things off by saying that 2020 is one of the most chaotic years I will ever live to see. In my head, this year was going to be the best one yet. I turned 16 in August. I'd start my junior year at the Emory Wiener School. But most importantly, I was supposed to go to Israel with Kehillah High this summer. When spring break came around, my parents and I started getting alerts from the local news about a possible pandemic. At first, I wasn't worried, but that was until my spring break gained an extra week. Then that week turned into another week, and then another week. Then another week. Next thing I knew, spring break was 3 months long. My sophomore year had been taken away from me, and I had to adjust to a whole new virtual learning system. During our lockdown period, many camps, summer programs, and summer trips were being canceled. But Kehillah High stood strong and kept everyone who was attending their Israel trip informed that the trip was still on. Right when I believed everything would be all right, I was informed that the Kehillah High trip had been postponed to the next year. My summer was officially ruined. After about 1 week of sulking, I realized that maybe this lockdown period wasn't so bad after all. I had so much free time to absorb new information and challenge myself. One day, I received a call from an unknown number, and I, being a cautious person, declined the call. I saw I got a new voicemail, and when I listened, I realized it was the sweetest message from Danielle Alexander, telling me about the new alternative for the Israel trip. She explained that Kehillah High was offering a special fellowship through Macomb, a program of the Jewish Agency. They reached out to Kehillah High with their brand new Impact Israel Fellowship, a multi-dimensional online learning and leadership experience with all those that were supposed to go on the trip. It was a new online initiative to ensure that we still had a summer engaging with Israel and Israelis, even though our trip was postponed. When the meetings began, I was extremely excited. My cohort of 11 former Israel trip participants had the opportunity to debate and discuss collectively, work together in breakout groups and in Hivruta, pairs. Every time we met, we engaged with new authentic challenges about the topic we learned. And we had to find a point that we identified with and found meaningful to explore. My education on Zionism, Israeli government, history, and culture increased. All of the debates and Hivruta activities increased my communication skills, helpful because I always had a hard time getting my point across. Every week, someone was assigned to write a Devar Torah and compare the Parsha to an event that happened within the week. I remember I was assigned to write one on the week of Parsha Matot Maseh. In Matot Maseh, the tribes of Reuben and Gad were asking for land east of the River Jordan as their portion of the Promised Land. Moses got angry at their request, but finally agreed under the condition that the tribes join in the conquest of the lands west of the Jordan River. The Talmud says that some gifts are only received through pain, and that we, as people, never hope to gain an understanding of some level because of pain. The lesson I learned from this parsha was no pain, no gain. In our world, the COVID-19 pandemic took a toll on our lives. The entire state of Texas is required to enter stores with a mask because of the virus's severity, and we can all agree that it's unfun. With all of the reckless actions that have led to how the U.S. is carrying itself today, the world continues to suffer by going through this pandemic we weren't prepared for. But during this period, I realized that I had more time to spend with my family and to focus on myself. This lockdown was our time to rest from waking up early to go to work, school, or even sports practice. I am so thankful I was given the opportunity to do the Impact Israel Fellowship during break. My views on Judaism and Israel changed palpably, and I enjoyed bringing conversation to the dinner table with my family about things I learned. But the most important thing is that I gave this fellowship a chance. This pandemic has taught me not to take things for granted and to go after my desires. And that was a lesson I learned when I went for it and took part of the Impact Israel Fellowship. I would encourage any teen to take part in this fellowship as well. Imagine what you will learn about Israel, Judaism, and yourself if you just go for it. Good Yom Tov.
Yasher Koach, Nava. It shows the power, I think, of experiential education, that you learn most and it stays with you the longest when you actually do something, not just sitting in a classroom or behind a screen. So thank you, Nava, for showing you can make the best of a really not great situation and, have a good experience while you're at it. We continue in our Amidah, actually, page 388.
אלוהינו ולאבותינו ברכנו והברכה המשולשת בתורה הכתובה על ידי משה עבדך האמורה מפי אהרון ובניו כהנים עם קדושך כאמור יברכך אדוני וישמרך יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך
Further down on 388, Sim Shalom.
Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha, Chain V'Chesed V'Rachamim Aleinu V'Kol Yisrael Yisrael. Torah Chaim, ve'avad chesed, ve'avad chesed, utzedaka uvracha, ve'rachamim ve'chaim le'shalom. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed ve'rachamim, aleinu, they'll call Yisrael. Amecha, Amecha, v'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael. Bechol eit uvechol shah, bishlomecha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed ve'rachamim, aleinu, they'll call Yisrael. Amecha, Amecha.
Still on page 388, B'Sefer Chaim.
B'Sefer Chaim Barak v'Shalom Ufarnasa Tova Nizacher v'Nechatev Lefanecha Anachnu v'Chol Amacha Beit Yisrael Lechaim Tovim Lechaim Tovim Uleshalom Baruch Atah Adonai Oseh HaShalom.
And finally, we say Oseh Shalom. May the one who brings peace in heaven bring peace to all of us here on earth, because we definitely need a lot more of it these days. Oseh Shalom.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'yakol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'yakol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yahaseh shalom, Yahaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'yakol Yisrael. Yahaseh shalom, Yahaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'yakol Yisrael. Yahaseh shalom, Yahaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'yakol Yisrael. Yahaseh shalom, Yahaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'yakol Yisrael.
We turn to page 390 in our Machzor for the Kaddish Shalem.
Yikaral v'yikara shemei rava.
Amen.
Be'amad yivrach yirutei, be'amlich malchutei, be'chayechanu b'yomechanu v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'gala u'bizman kariv, ve'imeru, amen. Yehesh me'rabba mevorach, le'olam u'lom me'omaya, yitbarach, yitbarach. Shabach vit Pa'ar vit Ramam vit Naseh vit Hadar vit Ale vit Alal Shemeda Kudesha Berechu Leila Leila min kol birchata v'shirata Tushpechata v'nechemata Da'amiran be'alma ve'imebru Amen Titka balt slotanu bauton dechol Yisrael Kodam avuhondi vishmaya ve'imebru Amen Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya Bechaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imebru Amen Ose shalom bimromav Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'im peru. Amen.
I have never been what you might call an optimist. I'm not saying I'm a pessimist, no. I have rightfully been accused of being very realistic. I think of myself as a realistic person. I want to see the world for the way it really is. I have not been an optimist since I was a kid. I think maybe it's actually inborn, and maybe it's a generational thing. I am one of the much maligned millennials. Reams of internet paper have been spent on how disappointing we are as a generation. We have such a dark world view. We're confusing. We're not buying houses. We're not getting married. We're not having as many kids or any kids. Oh, they're such pessimists. But can you blame us? We're not kids, actually, anymore. Millennials are those born between 1981 and 1996, which means the oldest of us is pushing 40, and the youngest are thoroughly in their 20s. We came of age in the pall of 9/11. As kids and teens, we saw terror threat levels, a thing, and it's red. You know, now you have to take your shoes off at the airport. As kids, we watched our neighborhoods fill with for sale and foreclosed signs when the housing bubble burst. And most of us entered the job market during or just after the Great Recession hit. So, you know, that was great timing. I graduated from college 10 years ago with a bachelor's degree in my hand, and I cobbled together a bunch of little part-time jobs. And I worked retail 6 days a week so that I had the ability to move home with my parents, as did all my friends. Oh, we applied for jobs. I hate that millennials are lazy thing. We applied for jobs. We were told, oh, you're such a great candidate for this position, but we have folks with a master's degree and 10 years of experience who are applying for this entry-level job, so can you really blame us for being kind of dark? And now, it's the kicker, just as we've had a period of relative calm, relative stability in our lives to establish our careers, save some money, start our families, it all comes crashing down again. I have lost count how many of my friends, how many congregants my age have lost jobs since the pandemic hit, have had to delay their weddings, have had to delay having kids, who've had to delay fertility treatments because of this pandemic. And if you think the stuff they write about millennials is dour, you should see the stuff they write about Gen Z. Oh, yeah. Oh, millennials are so negative and Gen Z are nihilist. That means they think you don't care about anything. There's a lot of Gen Zers in the room right now. All born between 1996 and 2010-ish. It's all, oh, social media is all they care about, and all they want to do is the TikTok and stuff like that. It's all over the internet. But can you blame them? The oldest among them are entering the job market, and honey, that market is closed to them right now. And the majority of them are going into high school or starting college. Well, they're supposed to be starting college. But how many of them left with the car, packed to the brim, you can't see out the back window? Gonna go decorate their new dorm room to be sent home 2 weeks later because there was an outbreak. At least my prom wasn't canceled. I got to walk my high school graduation. I got to walk my college graduation. And I never had to go to online school, but it sounds terrible from what I've heard. And it's huge, the effects of this upheaval on young lives. A friend of mine posted recently, "When I feel my patience running low with the 6-year-old lately, which is often these days," she wrote about her own kid, "I try to remember that one day in March, without warning, we picked him up from school and he never saw his friends again. And even most adults would lack the tools to be able to process that." For so many of these Gen Z kids, elementary school kids, high school kids, college kids, their world has been turned upside down for the first time. So can you blame them for wanting to record themselves dancing or wanting to text their friends all the time? If I had a cell phone when I was a teenager that was not a brick, I'm pretty sure I would do the same thing. "Oh, millennials, they're so dark and negative, and Gen Z totally don't care." Yeah, well, the two of us look at the world, and we see a global pandemic, and the job market roiling, and climbing inflation of the basic necessities of life. And it's not just the wealth disparity issues that get to us, because pre-pandemic, there were huge human rights disparities. It is still not safe to be every gender, to be every race. It's still not safe to be every religion or every sexuality. So, yeah, we may not be optimists, and yeah, it might be a generational thing. But when you've spent a good chunk of your childhood and your formative teenage years and your entire adult life being continually smacked in the face with just how awful the world is, how can you be an optimist? I've always thought of optimism as seeing the world for what it is not, as a shiny, sparkly, wonderful place, and that just seems foolish to me. Seems like you're setting yourself up for disappointment because we know that it has problems. And no matter how young or old you are, we all know, it's got problems. And right now, it's got big problems. So what can we say to millennials who are having the rug pulled out from our feet again? To Gen Z who haven't even had to wrestle with the rules changing because they have literally always grown up in a world where they have had fear and anxiety and low expectations for people. And it's not just us young people who are feeling this pull, this drag downward. Study after study proves that to be true. Pessimism has a growing specter for all ages right now. What do we say to those in Gen X who are worrying after their own children who are teenagers, so many of them, trying to launch into a world that's so different from the one that they launched into? And at the same time, they have older parents who are trying to make it through a time when we have a plague that is incredibly fatal to those over 65. They've got both those going on. And what do we say to the baby boomers, many of whom planned to retire soon, and many of whom who are watching their savings just slip away? What do you say to the baby boomers who can't even hold their grandchildren? Or to the silent generation that are still with us who can't hold their great-grandchildren? That is a pain I cannot imagine. But I hear it in my parents' voices, in my in-laws' voices, when we talk to them. And what do we say to the generation after Gen Z, to the babies and toddlers and small children of now, who haven't been saddled with a title for their generation yet? I'm sure it's coming. What do I say one day to my 1.5-year-old son? Because this is not the world I wanted him to grow up in. And it breaks my heart that he has to. I think we have to say, be an optimist. But I also think we need a radically different perspective on what that optimism means. Because I think that optimism can be an audacious form of rebellion. I used to think that optimism meant being happy all the time, refusing to be sad or frustrated or disappointed, just deciding, poof, I'm going to be happy with the world. And that never made sense to me because you can't choose how you feel how you feel. But being optimistic doesn't mean feeling happy. You can be optimistic and not feel happy or content. I actually think that's the key to being optimistic. Being optimistic doesn't mean saying, it'll be okay, it'll be taken care of later. No. We cannot exempt ourselves for how things turn out in the future. Being optimistic means saying, I reject the notion, I refuse to believe that just because the world is upside down and inside out and literally on fire right now, that it must always be that way. I know that that is not so. I know it will be better. And I know that the only way that that is possible, that anything will ever be better, is if I myself do something about it. Optimism is rebellion against the status quo. When we say be optimistic, we should mean set expectations of greatness. Look at what the world could be. And is that what it is? No, of course not. But that fact that it's not that right now, that cannot be a deterrent. We have to set the bar incredibly high for what we can achieve, so we know what we're aiming for, so we know what to try. Judaism teaches that the world started out as paradise. Eve, Adam, Garden of Eden, and it was perfection. And they got booted. They got booted from the garden. And how could they not just lay down and give up after that? After they got booted? Because they knew what paradise was. They knew perfection. They lived in it. And after they got booted, they had to look down the long barrel of their lives, and they were told by God, life is going to be pain, and life is going to be suffering. So it would be reasonable for them to say, forget it. There's no point. I know what perfect was, I lived in it, and I know my experience going forward will not be like that. But they don't give up. They work hard despite that. They suffer, yes, and they live. There is a reason we are presented with paradise first in the Jewish telling of creation. Because afterwards, when we are forced to live in the real world, and things are incredibly difficult, we know things can be better. We know things will be better. They need to be better. So we have to keep that ideal in our mind so we know what to shoot for. We have to be idealists, which is not a natural state for myself. I am not an idealist kind of person. I'm not, as I said, an optimist, not naturally inclined that way, but I think we have to try it out. And not everything will be better all at once. Optimism is not the same thing as utopianism. It means believing that there will be some good. There will be more good, and we can make it so for the future. And when you look at life from that perspective, when things will be better one day, That allows us to say at least some things will be better one day. And that enables us to look at our lives even now and say, hey, not everything is bad. There is some good. There's some really good stuff in here right now. And that is heartening. And it brings light when it's so dark outside. On Yom Kippur, you've heard us say in here how many times? We say, Gamar Hatima Tova. May you be signed and sealed for a good year. And you have to be an optimist to say that. If you don't think it can actually happen, if you don't think we will have a good year, if you don't think things will be or even can be much better, either we're lying when we say Gemar Chatima Tova, or we are saying words we do not mean. And both of those are particularly egregious on Yom Kippur. So it must be true somehow to wish a good year to each other wholeheartedly. I was talking to a friend of mine, a fellow rabbi, a fellow millennial rabbi, about this. And he asked me, Sarah, when do we celebrate Rosh Chodesh? That's the new Jewish month, and it coincides with the new moon. What, he asked me, does the moon look like when we say the blessings and celebrate the new Jewish month? And I said, haha, trick question. It doesn't look like anything because there isn't one, which is true. Rosh Chodesh is celebrated when the moon is new, that is, when the sky is filled with only darkness. Now, you'd think we would celebrate when the moon is at its fullest, radiant at the night sky. But we don't. We celebrate when the moon is completely invisible, and all that is there is potential. This Yom Kippur, as we think of the ways that we endeavor to better ourselves in the coming year, for myself, I am on a mission, and I invite you to try too if it is something that is a new concept to you as it is for myself. I am going to try to be an optimist, an idealist even, because I refuse to believe that just because things look bad now, and they do, and just because they might be worse in the future, and I think that's quite possible, I cannot accept that these things will always be so. I reject that notion. And I will use my God-given abilities and strength and love to do what I can to make this world as close to paradise for all living creatures as possible. With 100% conviction, allow me to wish you a Gemar Chatima Tova. May you all be signed and sealed for good.
Thank you, Rabbi Fort, I think for a very important and positive message that I wish all millennials and all our young people, really throughout our community, could hear. Well done, and nice to see. Thank you. Very important. And I also want to thank all of our young people for being here. When we sat down over the summer and thought about this service, we were worried that no young people would come. We were shown differently. And we want to thank all of our young people that came, your parents that allowed you to do it, that are with you this afternoon. This is such an important part of our day here at Beth Yeshurun. It fills us with pride, and it inspires us in this late hour. It helps us get through the day, seeing so many of our young people coming in, care about their Judaism, they've taken this seriously, and want to participate in a service. So thank you to all of our young people for participating again, even in a pandemic. And we look forward to next year when we will have a full sanctuary and our teens will again lead us in the Mincha service. So we're actually running ahead of schedule. So we have a little bit of an opportunity now to have a break. We'll pick up again right at 6:15 for our Ne'ilah service, which will go right until Havdalah. At 7:34, we will end Yom Kippur. So take a little stretch break wherever you are. Join us again at 6:15, right on the dot, for the last service of our Yom Kippur. We'll see you at 6:15. Good evening again, and thank you for rejoining us now as we prepare for the end of the day. Please know that for any of you that need to say the mourner's Kaddish this evening, please know that a full mourner's Kaddish will follow Ne'ilah and our thank yous and will be recited here in our Barg service. It's hard to believe that it's already now been 10 days since we started our holiday season here in the Barg Sanctuary. We started then on Erev Rosh Hashanah, at sunset. We begin again. We end again now at sunset. And of course, these last days, these high holidays will be one that we will never forget. And hopefully never have to repeat in the exact same way again. But I hope and pray that we did get something out of these services, that we were moved, that we were reminded of the blessings that we do have in our community. They were reminded that life will return soon, and that we were reminded of the greatness of our congregation. And so now we're ready to begin the Ne'ilah service. And as we begin, I want to share these words from one of my colleagues, Rabbi David Wolpe, who writes, Yom Kippur is a full day, but its spirit is captured by the night. Last night after the Kol Nidrei prayers, when we walked out of the synagogue, the sky was dark and our souls were in the solitude of evening reflection. Now, in the final hour of Yom Kippur, during the Ne'ilah service, we anticipate the night to come. For as the sun is setting, we grasp the last hours of repentance, our final chance to pray and chant and cry together with the community, seeking magic and feeling apprehension as children do in the dark. As Yom Kippur closes, we pray that the searching we have done in the dark will illuminate the shadows in our souls and lead us to better lives. The spirit of Ne'ilah is well captured in the following poem. Dear children, trust the night and have faith in tomorrow, that these hours of ambiguity and indecision may be also the hours of healing. Let us begin the Ne'ilah service as we return to our Machzor, page 394, with Ashrei.
Ashrei, Ashrei. תהילת אדוני ידבר פי, ויברך ובשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד. ואנחנו נברך יה, מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה.
Page 397, we rise.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא דיברה חירותי ועמליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יש מרבה בברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ויאמרו
The silent Amidah, the last silent prayer of the day, page 398 through page 406. now for this repetition of the Amidah. The ark will be opened up the entire time. It represents the gates of heaven that are open for these last moments of Yom Kippur. So the custom is to stand during this entire service. But of course, if it's too difficult for you, we will understand if you need to take a break and sit. Of course, it would be understandable at this late hour. The ark is now opened, page 408, as we begin the repetition of the Amidah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Bekonei HaKol, Ve'Zocher Chasdei Avot, U'mevii Goel Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ava, Zocherenu L'chaim, Melech Havetz B'chaim, V'chotemenu B'sefer HaChaim, Le'manecha Elohim Chaim. Melech Hozer Ufoked, U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ufoked Sarah. Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye Metim ata Rav Lehoshia, Mechalkel Chaim, Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye Metim, Berachamim Rabbim, Somech Noflim Berafei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Meimit, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach, Yeshua, Michamocha, Abarachamim, Zocher Yetzurav, L'chaim, Berachamim, Benemanat Alachayot Metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye HaMetim. Yimloch Adonai le'olam Elohayich Zion, לדור ודור הללויה, ואתה קדוש יושב תהילות ישראל
I'm now reading in the English on page 410. Open the gates of righteousness for us, that we may enter them and praise God. We have knocked on your doors, merciful one. Do not turn us away empty-handed. Open for us and for all Israel, our people, wherever they are, gates of light, blessing, and joy. gates of gladness, splendor, and good counsel, gates of merit, love, and purity, gates of salvation, atonement, and kindness, gates of pardon, consolation, and forgiveness, gates of health, prosperity, and righteousness, gates of uprightness and complete healing, gates of peace and repentance, and seal us in the book of life for blessing and holiness, for you are holy and your name is holy. Allow us to enter your gates in holiness. The Kiddushah, page 411.
Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Tzebaot, Melech kol haaretz kevodo, kevodo, malei olam, nesharet avsharim zelazeh, aye, mekom kevodo, leyumatam, baruch yameru, baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo, mimkomo, uifen berachamim, veyachonam am yachadim shemo, veyachonam am yachadim shemo, erev b'boker bechol yom tamid, pamayim be'ahava, shema omrim, shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Hu Eloheinu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, Hu Yashmienu, Yashmienu berachamav, Shenit, 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 Shenit leyeinei kol chai. Liot lachem lelohim, ani Adonai Elohechem. Adir, Adireinu, Adonai, Adoneinu, Madir Shimcha, bechol haaretz, v'haya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, vayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, u'divrei kodshecha chatuv lemor, imloch Adonai leolam, Elohayich Tzion, ledor vador, hallelujah.
Now let us enjoy cantors from all over North America singing the prayer Lador Vador in a tune that we all love here at Congregation Beth Yeshurun. Page 412, Lador Vador.
Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid gad lecha, ulenetzot netzachim.
love your tune here, and they love it all over the world. Thank you, Meir. And now let us continue on page 412.
חמול על מעשיך ותשמח במעשיך, ויאמרו לך חוסיך בצדקך מוסיך, תוקדש אדון על כל מעשיך. באין מליץ יושר מול מגיד פשע, תגיד לי יעקב דבר חוק ומשפט, בצדקנו במשפט, המלך המשפט. ובכן תן פחדך אדוני אלוהינו על כל מעשיך, ואימתך כל מה שבראת, ויראוך כל המעשים, וישתחוו לפניך כל הברואים, ויעשו כולם אגודה אחת, לעשות רצונך בלבד שלם. כמו שידענו אדוני אלוהינו שהשלטון לפניך, עוז בידך וגבורה בימינך, ושמך נורא על כל מה שבראת. ובכן תן כבוד אדוני לעמך, תהילה לעיניך ותקווה לראשך, ופתחון פה למייחלים לך. שמחה לארצך, בששון לעירך, וצמיחת קרן לדוד עבדך, בריחת נר לבן ישי משיחך, במהרה וכן צדיקים ידעו וישמחו וישרים יעלוזו וחסדים ברינה יגילו, ועולתה תקפוץ פיה, בכל רשעה כולה כישן תכלה, כי תבין ממשלת זדון מן הארץ. ותמלוך אתה אדוני לבדך על כל מעשיך, בהר ציון משכן כבודך, ובירושלים עיר קודשך, ככתוב בדברי קודשך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. קדוש אתה ונורא שמך, ואין אלוה מבלעדיך, ככתוב ויקבע אדוני צבאות במשפט, והאל הקדוש נקדש בצדקה. ברוך אתה אדוני המלך הקדוש. אתה בחרתני מכל העמים, אהבתנו ורצית בנו, ורוממתנו מכל הלשונות, וקידשתנו במצוותיך, וקרבתנו מלכנו לעבודתך, ושמך הגדול והקדוש עלינו קראת. ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה את יום הכיפורים הזה, למחילה ולסליחה ולכפרה, ולמחול בו את כל עוונותינו, מקרא קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים. Page 414. פתח לנו שער, ואת נילת שער, כפנה Chapter 415. Vayavod Adonai al panav vayikra Adonai, Adonai el rachum v'chanun erech abayim v'rav chesed אשר נסעת לעם הזה ממצרים ביד הנה ושם נאמר ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדבריך.
Now join me in the English at the top of page 416. Together, may the cry of those who pray to you rise up before the throne of your glory. Fulfill the request of those who worship you alone. You hear the prayers of those who approach you. May Israel, whom you promised would be saved in the end of days, be saved today. It is you who dwell on high utter words of forgiveness, for you are abundantly forgiving in the source of compassion. The cantor continues, the top of page 416.
En kat besaladecha talifnei chisei chevodecha malei mishalot ameyachadecha shomea tefilat baecha תשועת עולמים, גם היום יבשו מפיך, שוכן, שוכן, שרומים, כי אתה רב סליחות ובעל הרחמים, יחביאנו צל ידו תחת כנפי השכינה, חון יחון כיפון לבקוב להכינה, קומנה אלוהינו וזעו זינה, אדוני לשבתנו האזינה, ישמיענו סלחי יושב בסתר עליון, בימין ישר להיפשע, עמני ואביון, ושבנו אליך, נוראות בצדק תעננו, אדוני היה עוזר לנו. 419, the top of the page. רחם אלא כהלדת ישורון, סלח נוכל עוונם, והושיענו אלוהי שנו, שערי שמיים פתח, יצרך טוב לנו תפתח, תושיע וריב אל תמתח, והושיענו אלוהי אישנו. אל מלך יושב על כיסא רחמים, יושב על כיסא רחמים, על כיסא רחמים, מתנהג בחסידות, מוחל עוונות עמו, מעביר ראשון ראשון, מרבה מחילה לחטאים וסליחה לפושעים, עושה צדקות עם כל בשר, עם כל בשר ורוח, לא חרתם תגמול. אלוהי תלנו לומר 13, זכור לנו היום ברית 13, כמו שהודעת לעניו מקדם, כמו שכתוב וירד אדוני בענן, ויתייצב עמו שם, ויקרא בשם אדוני. ורב חסד באמת, נוצר חסד לאלפים, עושה עוון ופשע וחטא ונקי, וסלחת לעווננו ולחטאתנו ונחלתנו. סלח לנו אבינו כי חטאנו, מחל לנו מלכנו כי פשענו, כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח ורב חסד לכל קוראיך. Page 420. Eloheinu v'Eloi Avotenu, Selach lanu, Mechal lanu, Chauffeur Blowers. Ki anu amecha, ve'ata Eloheinu, anu vanecha ve'ata avinu, anu avadecha ve'ata Adoneinu, anu ke'alecha ve'ata chelkeinu, anu nachalatecha ve'ata goraleinu, anu tzonecha ve'ata roveinu, anu chamecha ve'ata notreinu, anu fulatecha ve'ata yotzreinu, anu rayotecha ve'ata dodeinu, anu skulatecha ve'ata keroveinu, anu amecha ve'ata malkeinu, anu mamirecha ve'ata mavireinu, anu azifanim ve'ata rachum v'chanun, anu kshioref ve'ata erech apayim, anu melei avon ve'ata malei rachamim, anu yameinu ketzel over ve'ata ushnotecha lo itanu. Eloheinu v'Eloi Avotenu, tavo lefanecha tefillatenu, ve'al titchala midechinatenu, she'ein anachu azifanim ukshei oref, lomar lefanecha, Adonai Eloheinu v'Eloi Avotenu, tzadikim anachnu ve'lo chatanu, אבל אנחנו ואבותינו חטאנו.
And I'm reading now in the English at the bottom of page 420. Our God and God of our ancestors, hear our prayer. Do not ignore our plea. Our God and God of our ancestors, we are neither so insolent nor so obstinate as to claim in your presence we are righteous, without sin. For we, like our ancestors who came before us, have sinned. As we now do the final confession for this Yom Kippur, the Ashamnu, page 421.
Ashamnu, Bagalu, God. Ashanu Shichadanu Tiavanu Ta'ilu
We have turned from your goodly laws and commandments, but it has not profited us. Surely you are in the right with respect to all that comes upon us, for you have acted faithfully, but we have been in the wrong. Now I'm continuing on the bottom of page 422 in the English at the bottom of the page. Our God and God of our ancestors, forgive our sins on this Yom Kippur, blot out and disregard them. As the prophet Isaiah says in your name, surely I am the one who wipes away sin. For this is my nature, I will not recall your errors. And the prophet adds, I sweep aside your sins like a mist and disperse your transgressions like a cloud. Turn back to me, for I will redeem you. And in your Torah it is written, for on this day atonement shall be made for you to purify you from all your transgressions. In the presence of Adonai you shall be pure. Our God and God of our ancestors, make us holy through your mitzvot, and let the Torah be our portion. Fill our lights with your goodness and gladness with your triumph. Purify our hearts to serve you faithfully, for you forgive the people Israel and pardon the tribes of Yeshurun in every generation. Beside you, we have no sovereign who pardons and forgives. Baruch atah Adonai, sovereign who pardons and forgives our sins and those of the people, the house of Israel, each year sweeping away our guilt, ruler of all the earth, who makes the people Israel and the Day of Atonement holy. The cantor continues.
Ki ata salchan Yisrael u'machalam l'shivtei Yishuv mechol dor vador u'mibaladecha ein lanu melech mochel v'soleach el ata baruch atah Adonai melech mochel v'soleach la'avonotenu ולעוונות עמו בית ישראל ומעביר אשמותינו בכל שנה ושנה מלך על כל הארץ מקדש ישראל מלך על כל הארץ מקדש ישראל ויום רצי אדוני אלוהינו ועמך ישראל בתפילתם השב את עבודה נדבין מתך תפילתם במה תקבל ברצון ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך ותחזינה עינינו בשובך לציון ברחמים ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו לציון מודים אנחנו לך. הטוב כי לא חלו רחמך ואמרחם כלותם וחסדיך מעולם הבינו לך ועל כולם יתברך ויתרומם שמך מלכנו תמיד לעולם ועד. Page 424 וחתום לחיים טובים כל בני בריתך וכל החיים יודוך סלע ויעלו את שמך באמת אל ישועתנו עזרתנו סלע ברוך אתה אדוני הטוב בשמך ולכנע להודות אלוהינו אבותינו, ברכנו בברכה המשולשת בתורה, הכתובה על ידי משה עבדך, האמורה מפי אהרון ובניו כהנים, עם קדושך כאמור. יברכך אדוני וישמרך, יאיר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונקה, יישא אדוני פניו אליך ויעשה לך שלום, טובה וברכה בעולם, חן וחסד ורחמים, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, עמך. ברכנו, אבינו, כולנו כולנו כאחד, באור באור פניך, שים שלום, טובה וברכה בעולם, חן וחסד ורחמים, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, עמך. כי באור פניך נתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו תורת חיים ואהבת חסד וצדקה וברכה ורחמים וחיים ושלום, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. בספר חיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה, פרנסה טובה, ניזכר ונחתם לפניך, אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל לחיים טובים ולשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה to page 425. אבינו מלכנו, חתן לפניך. אבינו מלכנו, אבינו מלכנו, חותמנו בספר חיים טובים. אבינו מלכנו, חותמנו בספר גאולה וישועה. אבינו מלכנו, חותמנו בספר פרנסה וכלכלה. אבינו מלכנו וספר סליחה ומחילה. We join together in the final Avinu Malkeinu. Fourth line down, page 426. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu masim, Asei imanu, Tzedaka v'chesed, Asei imanu, Tzedaka v'chesed, ve'hoshienu. Asei imanu, Tzedaka v'chesed, Asei imanu, Tzedaka v'chesed,
Avinu Malkeinu, have mercy on us, answer us, for our deeds are insufficient. Deal with us charitably and lovingly, and redeem us. As the ark is closed, you may be seated. Kaddish Shalem, page 428.
David Kadash Merabah, Yom Adiv Chilute, Yom Malchute, V'chayechon V'mechon V'chayech B'Beit Yisrael, Agalav Izman Kariv, V'yimeru Amen, Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach, Le'alam Ulal Me'al Maya, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitbar, V'yitroma, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shemei Nekudusha, Berichu, לעילה, לעילה מכל אחד המשירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמא, ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלוחנו ובאותנו כל ישראל, קודם עווני בשמיה, ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו על כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
Just the annual reassurance I always give that I promise the end of Yom Kippur will not be delayed by my thank yous. I promise we'll be completely concluded by 7:34 with the final blast of the shofar. Trust me, I am hungry as well. This particular year, my 20th high holidays here at Congregation Beth Yeshurun has been like one I've never experienced before. And I have to say, while the staff and leadership of any congregation, especially this one, when it comes to planning the high holidays, there's so much work involved. It really starts back in the spring. All the logistics, the plans for 4 different services, other programs and events that happen during the holidays, it takes months and months of work. But this year in particular has been double, triple the amount of work we normally do. The questions that we had of what we could do and what we could not do were never ending. Getting feedback from many of you, talking to other congregations, what could be possible. It took a whole reinventing of what we could do at the high holidays with one goal in mind, to make this experience as meaningful for you, knowing that we would not get to feel your presence in our sanctuaries. We are so blessed at this congregation to have such extraordinary men and women who are leaders of this congregation or who work in this congregation, who made everything that you have experienced over these days possible. And I cannot thank enough all of them for all of their commitment, hard work, their dedication, and their passion for Congregation Beth Yeshurun. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I'm blessed every year to work with incredible people who give so much of themselves to serve as leaders and as presidents of our congregation. So I'm very delighted to extend my sincere appreciation to my partner, colleague, and friend, our President, Jared Bloom. I know this is not what you had wanted, Jared. After helping bring our synagogue back to life after a once-in-a-lifetime flood, you're now dealing with a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. But your resiliency, passion, and dedicated leadership has helped carry us through. And Jared, we look forward to continuing to work with you as our president. And I know the incredible work you do will continue to strengthen us as a congregation. We're very blessed to have you as our president. I'm also blessed to work with other talented individuals who commit so much time to our congregation. All of our board members and those members of our executive committee, Lori Herzog, Carrie Hoffman, Jeff Lefkowitz, Ronnie Most, Arthur Nathan, Arlene Staller, and our president-elect, David Stein. I thank each of you for your commitment and for working with me every day and helping Beth Yeshurun excel in so much of what we do. Your dedication is appreciated by all of us. I'd also like to thank our executive director, Andy Berger, for all the hard work he did in getting us ready for these holidays. I believe we are very fortunate to have an executive director with so many talents, ideas, and such passion for our community. I've been honored to work with him over the past several years to help Beth Yeshurun grow and become even stronger. And we would not be doing as well as we are if it wasn't for Andy. So I look forward to our continued work together for many years to come. Thank you, Andy. I also want to thank all the staff members of our congregation who do so much every day, and especially as we prepared for these days. Many of them had to give up their holiday to help provide our virtual experience. Marco Alvarado, Nicole Deloche, Suleiman Dupuche, Chef Kevin Flores, Sarah Goldberg, Diane Gordon, Sheila Jackson, Sherry Cameraman, Ellen Petrus, Eileen Pettigrew, and Gail Schnur. We're very blessed to have such capable and talented individuals in our synagogue. And I especially want to thank the members of our executive staff. First, our program director, Jennifer Rosenzweig, for the absolutely incredible work she did in helping coordinate all the work behind these virtual high holidays. But it's not just preparing for the high holidays, it's the countless other important items Jennifer deals with on a daily basis. She keeps us on pace and helps pave the way for our very full and diversified program schedule. We're truly blessed to have such an exceptional program director. She and our marketing and communications manager, Ashley Mills, make an unbelievable team. And speaking of Ashley, we're very thankful to have her as our communications and marketing manager. She helps us every day with making so much of what we do accessible to our members of all ages. She inspires us with her creative ideas, hard work, and devotion, which has only increased our viewership during this time. Ashley, we thank you for all that you do. Thank you to our education director, Cheryl Eskowitz, who does so many things, both big and small, to help us run our services and our religious school and our Kehillah High so smoothly. She's always ready to give a helping hand to anything we do at Beth Yeshurun. Thank you, Cheryl, for all that you do in this season and throughout the year. To Jennifer Sutton, our Director of Development, who does tremendous work for us every day, from retooling our Yizkor books and Shabbat donations in a pandemic to helping us with our long-term legacy needs. Her passion and enthusiasm helped us rebuild after Hurricane Harvey, and she's helping us survive these current times. Thank you, Jennifer. And finally, Mindy Stern, our Director of Member Relations. Every high holiday season is a busy time for Mindy, especially this one. And we thank her for working so nicely with our members, increasing our membership one family at a time. Everyone appreciates her kind and welcoming personality, and we thank Mindy for all that she does. Your clergy are very fortunate to have such superb rabbinical and cantorial assistants who give so much of their time and energy. Sarah Kaiser, Abby Rotenberg, Lisa Unsel, who did so much to prepare for our high holidays. And I especially want to thank my assistant, Abby, who helps keep me in check and is so diligent in making sure all runs smoothly out of my office. I want to thank our entire maintenance staff, headed by the wonderful Bruce Jackson. They are incredible. wonderful people who also give so much of their passion and heart to this congregation. Romeo Archibald, Ampora Calaza, Valera Calaza, David Gordon, John Houston, Michael Jenkins, Bernadette Ben-Pierre, Jimmy Rivera, and Claudia Torres. Thank you to all of you. Preparing for the high holidays also takes the work of numerous lay leaders. I want to first thank the chair of our ritual committee, Arthur Nathan, who oversaw all of our high holiday services that you saw online. Our amazing Gabbayim, our head Gabbai, Alan Levin, who helped us on Rosh Hashanah, and Mitch Levy, who was here throughout Yom Kippur. I am so blessed to have such a great team up here on the holidays and throughout the year, helping us with all of our B'nai Mitzvah. They helped conduct all of our services with such professionalism and grace. Thank you, Alan and Mitch, and all of our Gabbayim, who we can't wait to see when life returns to normal again. Thank you to our security committee, led by Susan Sandler and Detective Gil Macedo of the Bel Air Police Department, and his team who make us feel safe every day here at Beth Yeshurun. Our deepest gratitude to Ray Uzik, who along with Jennifer Sutton produced the largest Yizkor book our synagogue has had to date. Each member of our congregation was mailed a copy of the Yizkor book, and it's available on our website as also. And special thanks to Ashley Mills for managing the design, and Jeff Karp of Simon Printing, who ensured that this meaningful work was printed flawlessly and in time to arrive at your home for today's Yizkor service. I want to offer special thanks to Nancy and Arthur Brand and Gilda and Warren Sprung for continuing to sponsor our internet streaming of all our high holiday services in the Bark Sanctuary, in memory of their parents, AI and Minette Cheps and Alan Brand. This year, they went above and beyond, and through their amazing generosity, as you now know, they allowed us to do even more to make your virtual experience from home as engaging and meaningful as possible. We are forever grateful to these families, to these dedicated members who made this first and hopefully last virtual high holidays as special as possible. And over the past 6 months, we've made many adjustments to take everything virtual, and thank you to Dell and Barbara Coleman for being a sounding board and support that enabled us to upgrade and increase the reach of our live streaming. Thanks to the family of the late Norma Cust for their continuing sponsorship of the telephone broadcast of our services, which was established by Norma in memory of her beloved husband, Nathan, which has enabled homebound and hospitalized members to hear all of today's service on the phone. When we first decided that we were going virtual, the president of our congregation said we should consider hiring mouth-watering media, led by the superb Doug Newman. I didn't know Doug, but Jared was right. Doug and his entire team has been incredible. And Doug, your attention to detail is shown by you and your entire staff, making sure to get everything done just right so our members can experience these high holidays is in the best of their ability and the best of our ability to make everything we do here in the Bark Sanctuary pleasant for them at home. So thank you, Doug, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you and your entire team. Thank you to my friend Ira Rosen for producing many of the videos you've watched over these high holidays. You've been patient, fully available, and extremely creative in getting so much done for us. Thank you, Ira. And thank you to our wonderful sound engineer, Philip Langlis, who was always there for us and organized so much of what we did over these holidays. He put in countless hours helping the cantor, helping me, helping our entire staff. Thank you, Philip, for being our rock. Thank you to our sisterhood, led by Presidents Barbara Koslov and Vicki Richker, for the beautiful flowers in all of our services and all the incredible work our sisterhood does for our congregation on a daily basis. This evening, we owe appreciation to all of those who participated in our services, our Holocaust speaker, Greg Rosenberg, and our wonderful Jews by Choice, who spoke so beautifully today, Nick Boza and Saman Jonau. Thank you to Jeremy Sorkin for doing our Israel Bonds appeal. And thank you to our President-elect David Stein for working with Jennifer Sutton to coordinate our annual High appeal. Your speech last night and this morning was inspiring, and we appreciate all that you do for our community. We were lucky to have many great guests for our family programs again this year. And if you've not had a chance to view our family programs, even though Yom Kippur is ending, I still encourage you to go back online and experience these services and programs with your children or grandchildren. They were exceptional. And I want to thank Jomel Berenbaum for adding her amazing voice to our preschool service, to Joe Buchanan for collaborating in our grade school services for the third year in a row, and to our visiting rabbinical student, Kevin Lefkowitz, for leading our teen programs. Thank you to our program associate, Sarah Goldberg, for her creative additions to all of our family programs. Sarah, you are terrific. And of course, thank you to Rabbi Fort for coordinating all the activities for our young people. Big Yesher Koach to our Chauffeur Blowers, Kenny Horowitz, Mac Uzik, and Ronnie Miller, who were as terrific as always. Our Baal Shachari, Dr. Benjamin Musher, and a cantorial student, Neil Teibel, who did such a beautiful job in getting us started every morning on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. A big thank you to all the wonderful students who participated in this afternoon's Mincha service, to Rebecca Bloom, Emily Finkelstein, Jordan Sheldon for their participation in our services, who added so much to them. Our Haftara chanters here in the Berger Sanctuary, Jonathan Bailiff, Michael Richker, and Nava Smith-Litvak. And of course, our amazing Torah reader, Rabbi Danny Horowitz. And even as Danny retires from being the Greenfield Chapel rabbi, we feel very fortunate that he will still be our Torah reader and one of the teachers of Torah in our congregation. We thank Rabbi Horowitz for all that he does for our community. Not many congregations can say they even have one Rabbi Emeritus, but we have two of the finest in America, Rabbi Jack Siegel and Rabbi David Rosen, my teachers, my colleagues, and my friend. And I know all of us can say the same. Rabbi Siegel now begins his 56th year as part of the Beth Yeshurun family. He continues to be a source of inspiration for all of us, and his passion for our community is contagious. We miss seeing you, Rabbi Siegel. Due to the pandemic, your wise and heartwarming presence is missed, but we all hope to see you soon, and we know we will. And to Rabbi Rosen, our newest Rabbi Emeritus, our great appreciation for all that you've done for our congregation continues. I'm very grateful that I still get to learn from you every day, and I'm honored to call you my teacher and close friend. Thank you to both Rabbi Siegel and Rabbi Rosen for all that they do for each of us, and I'm blessed to have both of them in my presence. I'm also blessed with two exceptional rabbis who help me in the day-to-day work we get to do for Congregation Beth Yeshurun. First, Rabbi Morgan, who I feel very blessed to have as our associate rabbi. Every day he works tirelessly for the congregants of our congregation, for members of all ages. His work with converts is legendary and has made an everlasting impact on the Jewish people. He's a source of wisdom and knowledge for all of us, and a model of stability, and we are very blessed to have him as one of our rabbis. Thank you, Rabbi Morgan, for all that you do. And thank you, Rabbi Fort, for creating and providing so many different venues of participation for our younger families over these high holidays. I feel very fortunate that we were able to secure you as one of our rabbis over 3 years ago. You've already grown so much as a rabbi, and we know that the future for you is very bright. Most importantly, so is the present. And we love seeing you grow as a rabbi. You get better every single day, and we look forward to continuing to see you grow here as a rabbi at Beth Yeshurun. To my colleague, partner, and friend, Cantor Meir Finkelstein. As I've said before I even came here to Houston, Rabbi Cantor Finkelstein was a name that every rabbinical student and rabbi in America knew. His music, his talent, his creativity, and his love for Jewish music is known throughout the Jewish world. And I could never have dreamed to be at the same synagogue with Cantor Meir Finkelstein, who brings so much life, passion, and creativity to all that we do here in the Berger Sanctuary and in the Freeman Levitt Sanctuary. It's a pleasure to work with him no matter what we are doing, and I'm honored to call him a close friend and colleague. Meir, for all you bring to us each Shabbat, for all you and your music have brought to Beth Yeshurun over these high holidays, I thank you, and I know everyone watching thanks you as well. Finally, I thank each of you, our community, our synagogue family, for giving me the great honor to serve as your senior rabbi. I am truly blessed to lead such an extraordinary congregation. And along with my fellow rabbis, cantor, and synagogue leadership, and the entire staff of Beth Yeshurun, we know so many of you were watching. It was nice to know that even last night when we had issues with our website, over 3,500 computers or smart TVs went to our YouTube and Facebook channels to still watch our service. We know even more were watching today. Most importantly, the members of this congregation, but also Jews throughout the world who have tuned in to be part of the Beth Yeshurun High Holiday experience. Please know that we missed being with you this year. It's hard to put in words what this was like, being here in this sanctuary with just a minion of people. But we know that you're with us. And even though we didn't get to see you in person, in a way we still feel your presence. And we're confident that soon enough, we will be together again. Thank you for making Beth Yeshurun your spiritual home. And thank you for all the gifts that each and every one of us gives to this Kehillah Kedoshah, this very holy and spiritual and special community. Now we're ready to bring to a close these high holidays. First, we turn back in our Machzor and our prayer book to page 458 as the cantor will recite Psalm 27, giving us a chance to say Mourner's Kaddish one more time for all those who have a yahrzeit beginning tonight. First, page 458, Psalm 27.
Le David Adonai rivishi mimira. לולהם אנתי לראות בטוב אדוני בארץ חיים, קווה אל אדוני חזק ואמץ ליבך, וקווה אל אדוני.
The Kadisha Tome, page 457. Yitzgadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, v'yamad divrach yiruteh v'yamlik malchuteh, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayeh dekol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kari v'yimru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevorach leolam omei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudusha b'richu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tishbechata v'nechemata, damiram v'yama v'yimru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. And now, the lights will be dimmed, and we first begin with Havdalah, and then we prepare for the Tekiah Gedolah, the final blow of the shofar. Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri peri hagafen, borei peri hagafen, la 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 la. ישראל העמים בין יום השביעי לששת ימי המעשה. ברוך אתה אדוני המבדיל בין קודש לחול. לי לי לה 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 לה
Page 429.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Adonai Hu HaElohim. 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 Adonai Hu HaElohim.
Before I call the final blow of the shofar, please allow me to step out of my role. Rabbi Emeritus means to say nothing, to acquiesce to whatever the senior rabbi allows. I hope he will allow me to extend on behalf of our congregation our gratitude to you. This has been the most challenging year a rabbi could ever have. And yet, here in this congregation, facing congregants you cannot touch, embrace, or hold, you have made your warmth reach into all of our hearts, providing us with these beautiful high holidays and sharing it with a grateful congregation. Yasher koach, and thank you for your wonderful service as our rabbi this most difficult year. Are we ready? Tekiah Gedolah. Lashana Haba'ah B'Yerushalayim.
Yes.
I'm sorry. A good year.